Welcome to our podcast. This is Friends on Fire.
I'm Mike. I'm a lifelong devotee of financial independence. I even wrote a book about it.
And I'm Maggie, a newer convert, but just as passionate, especially on the intersection of minimalism and financial independence.
We're one and the same.
We are two like-minded friends who believe that talking about money with your friends and family opens the door to financial well-being.
The Friends on Fire podcast is about dispelling myths, building financial acumen, and sharing your financial independence journey with the people you care about.
This is Friends on Fire. Hi, Maggie.
Hey, Mike.
How's it going?
You know, it's going. Coming off a few weeks of being very, very ill, but I'm back. I'm refreshed. How's it going with you?
I'm glad to hear it. I had a little bit of a scare with my 2003 Ford Explorer.
I forgot. I was in the middle of like the depths of the flu when you were telling me this.
Yeah, and you were like, I got bigger problems, buddy.
And I could barely function at the time. I forgot, like, what's happening. What's her name? She needs a name.
Yeah, and she doesn't really have a name yet.
Okay.
It's been 20 years.
Let's call her 2003.
Yeah, so Britta took my car one day and then came back and she was like, the gauge light's on. And I'm like, there's always lights going on. Don't worry about it.
So you're saying Britta broke your car?
I think it's just old and it broke while she was driving it. But the gauge light turns on. And then...
Why was she even driving it? I have so many questions.
She was so nice. She went to go get my emissions test done.
Oh.
Because it's like...
Why would you send her in that thing to get an emission? That's like sending... That's like you're sending something you know is going to fail emission inspection.
Emissions test, it does fine.
Oh, okay.
So anyway, the gauge light comes on and I'm like, yeah, don't worry about it. But then she is the one, she's like, yeah, but your coolant temperature is like red hot now. And honestly, I don't even know what a coolant system does. I've never looked at that gauge.
Stops your engine from overheating.
Yeah, exactly. Had Britta not told me to look at it, I would have just like driven it until the engine exploded. Honestly, I just don't understand cars that well.
It's very unsafe. So good for Britta for paying attention.
So I tried to replace the coolant myself, but it like kept like boiling and leaking out. And I'm like, I need to go take this in. And it turns out there's multiple leaks, including like the thermostat casing, which needs to be replaced. And so guess how much it was?
Well, where do you even, I want to guess in a second, where do you even take that thing?
I take it to Firestone for everything.
And they like are good and...
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Firestone does everything.
So my guess, it's a 2003 Hugg-ah junk. I was going to call it, beauty. Vintage Ford Explorer. Well, first off, what do you think it's worth? Have you ever Kelly Blue Booked that thing?
Oh yeah, it's recently? Worth like $300.
Literally, yeah. 300. Okay. Yeah. $2,000?
$1,100.
Okay. So how do you specifically? I say you because I know lots of people how they might break that. Like, how do you deal with the $300 car and an $1,100 repair? Like, how do you mentally break that down?
I see them as independent data points. So what I look at is like the cost to drive per year. And in my mind, I could spend $1,100 and continue driving this car for, it's probably going to last another 5 years. Yeah. But even if it lasted one more year, $1,100 for a year of driving still seems worth it to me. So
and the alternative is you buy a new car.
Yeah, the alternative is I have to sell my car for $200 and then, or maybe $150. I don't think
anyone's going to buy your car. I think you're going to need to like leave it at a scrapyard.
I was going to try to sell it to somebody at Firestone. So yeah, I got it fixed. If it had been $2,000 or even $1,500, I probably would have said no.
So it was just right on that cusp.
It was right at the sweet spot. It's like they could read my mind. But the car's great. I'm going to keep driving it. I hope it lasts.
And like she's running good. Those repairs, like totally.
Yeah, works great. They replaced the parts that had broken. 2 tubes in this thermostat casing. Works great.
And what are they? I'm just curious, but like you may not ask all these questions when it's getting fixed. But did you ask like what caused that? Is it just old age? Is it like you're not driving it much? Like
I did not ask. I'm sure it's just old age.
Okay.
These are like pressurized systems with super hot liquids, and I had never gotten it looked at in like 20 years. Some shit breaks.
Yeah. I mean, that's impressive that thing's still going. Do you get oil changes? Is that like all you do on it?
Yes, I do get oil changes, but I also only drive at 500 miles a year.
Yeah.
So it can go a while, but I try to get
Yeah.
an oil change once a year just to keep it
I feel
running.
like that's probably the last investment that she gets, right? Like, what are the chances? I don't know. I guess there could be other small things.
It depends. I mean, let me put it this way. If in 6 months they're like, something else broke and it's $1,000, I'd be like, I see where this is going. The materials
Yeah.
are just breaking down. I should get rid of it. But if in 2 years they're like, hey, it's $1,000 and you got to replace this, and I'm
Yeah,
like,
same
maybe I'll do it.
decision you just made. Yeah.
It's
Okay,
a judgment call.
I'm glad she's, she'll be 20 next year.
I know. Are we going to
glad.
celebrate her birthday?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah. Why not? We're not going to drive her anywhere to celebrate.
Yeah,
but,
right. It's not safe. All right. So today's episode, though, has nothing to do with cars, although I do want to do another car episode. We haven't done one in like 175 episodes.
Oh, that's impressive that you know that number.
I made that
I
up.
don't think we've actually done. I was going to say, I think like we're on episode 175 or something.
Well, today's episode is about my favorite word, Hygge. Not
Hugg-ah.
Hygge, as you
Hygge.
like
I was
to
about
say
to call it Hygge.
No.
I like just that we're going from like prenups last week to Hygge. Say
Yeah.
it again. Hygge.
Hygge.
Hugg-ah.
Yeah.
Hugg-ah. Oh, like a hug.
Yeah, like a hug.
Hugg-ah. Yeah, Hugg-ah.
Well,
me.
it's timely because we are now in the midst of the holiday merchandising, at least, if not the holiday season. And Hygge is like what is all around us.
Well, yes. I just want to comment on your holiday comment. So it's November 4th. It's 4 days when we're recording this. It's like 4 days after Halloween. One of my kids, I wasn't in the car, but Greg was driving the kids somewhere yesterday. And he was like, Anna specifically was like, oh my gosh, somebody has their holiday lights out already. And I was like, whoa, it's like Halloween. It's like it's been like, at the time it had been like 48 hours since Halloween ended. And
Yeah.
It's like, it's just,
People love it.
I wasn't ready. I'm just soaking. I'm not even like in the holiday spirit yet. I'm in the like, there's just beautiful fall weather in Atlanta right now.
It's really nice.
I mean, it is literally like, it just reminds me. And I think it just reminds me like how much I love this time of year. But I also think there's something about, well, I don't think, I know I'm like retired. I'm home. I'm experiencing, I also just like came off the brink of like, 2.5 weeks of like having the flu and the sinus infection and all this stuff. And I'm just like opening my eyes and I'm like, what an amazing, beautiful world we live in. And it's so nice out. We've just literally been like sitting on the back deck and we got out some binoculars the other day. We were like trying to bird watch, but we were mostly squirrel watching.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, we're officially retired, that it's like the middle of the day and we're looking at birds on the back deck.
You know who is a lifelong bird watcher?
Who?
My dad.
Oh,
He has traveled all over the world and taken us bird watching everywhere.
does he have one of those books where he like notes all the birds?
Oh,
he's
yeah.
seen?
It's called like a life list, and it's like a
Yeah.
whole thing with bird watchers, and he has seen
I
thousands
feel like
of
we've
them.
talked about this before.
Yeah.
I'm having like
Avid
deja
bird
vu
watcher.
of- yeah. Impressive.
Anyway.
I gotta get some tips from him. Okay, but this is all related
Yeah.
to Hugg-ah. Did I
Hugg-ah.
say it right?
Yeah.
Hugg-ah.
Now, Hugg-ah is a Danish concept of coziness, generally speaking, and it is like all part of their lifestyle. And to get a little more specific, it is about coziness inside your home in a cold season. All right?
Yeah, because it gets very cold
Yeah.
in the Nordic countries.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Danish countries. Nordic, Danish, are they basically the same thing?
I think, well, is Denmark a Nordic country?
Yeah, I think
I
so.
think so. I always thought it was like Norway, Sweden, Finland.
Wait, hold on. I'm just curious now. Most Nordic language. Okay. Iceland, Norway, Sweden, Finland, and Denmark are all Nordic countries with Scandinavian roots.
Got
But
it.
typically, you will only find Danish, Norwegian, and Swedish people referring to themselves as Scandinavian. Well, I'm
Interesting.
getting
Yeah,
into
we're getting off track.
new terms here.
So back to Hygge. If you think about your favorite movie scene from a Christmas movie, snow outside, everyone in their pajamas, sitting around the fire, drinking coffee with a soft lit Christmas tree, that is Hygge. That whole setup is Hygge. I would go so far as to say almost everybody enjoys some element of that. How do you feel about it, Maggie?
I agree. Coincidentally, Mike, I'm reading a book right now called The Nordic Theory of Everything in Search of a Better Life. And it's a good book, but I'm reading the physical book, and I don't read as many physical books as I do like audiobooks. And I actually really like sitting down and reading a book, particularly this time of year. So it's all related.
Yeah.
The irony that like you mentioned this topic and suggested it. And then I happen to be reading this book and like enjoying some coziness. This was like a little bit of like post sickness, just wanting to like, be on the couch and curl up and rest and get better. But it's just kind of funny that we're, talking about just things in the Nordic parts of the world and some of the traditions. And they have like some of the, no, I don't have any real stats on this per my normal MO, but the countries where Hugg-ah, I always want to say Hygge, sorry. The countries where Hugg-ah is not just originated, but is more kind of popular and well known, are where there's some of the like highest happiness levels in the world. So it's kind of something. There's something here in terms of what makes people happy and how they enjoy that coziness and getting into the season and all that.
Yeah, Hygge and socialized medicine, I think, make for a pretty happy population.
Yeah, right. It's specifically those two things. Yeah. And actually, per the book I'm reading, it's also like maternity leave, how they raise children, just all these other things.
So Maggie, which elements of Hygge do you gravitate towards or appreciate the most during the holidays?
That's a good question. I will say I've really been getting into like candles in the last couple years. I was never a big candle person. And I actually have we have a coworker who you'll know. His name's Chris. Shout out to Chris if he's listening. He like loves candles. Do you know this about him?
No.
He like loves them. You should strike up a conversation with him about his love for candles. Anyways, I always was like, I'm just kind of indifferent about candles. But in the last couple of years, like I really have enjoyed like burning a nice candle and just the light and the vibe it sets off in the house. And so I would say candles and cozy blankets and just like sitting in for me, a clean house. Yeah. It's got to be a clean house or it doesn't give me the coziness vibe I need. And just like reading a nice book by candlelight.
That sounds great.
What about you?
I like all of it to some degree, but what I really love is the lighting. So soft, dynamic, high contrast lighting. So think like, trees.
Dynamic lighting.
Dynamic means that it has like a lot going on with it. Like the changes are dramatic. There are distinct elements to it.
Would you consider me dynamic?
Yes, you are very dynamic.
When you said there's a lot going on with it, I was like,
yeah.
Okay.
So think like when you're driving down the street and the trees on either side of you have strings of soft lights, or you go into somebody's house and the lights are off, but you can see like, along their gutters, they're strung up with soft lights. Like I love that stuff.
Or like under cabinet lighting even.
Yeah, sure. All soft lighting that casts hard shadows in kind of a dim environment, I think is just the best part of the holidays.
Okay. I don't think I appreciated that like lighting had such a big piece of it.
So let's talk about how you build Hygge, and then we're going to talk about how you can do it for cheap. I got into this a few years ago when I read a book, and it's called The Little Book of Hygge. And we'll put a link for it in the show notes. But it goes through all of this stuff and it talks about why people enjoy it. So like you might kind of subconsciously know that like the Christmas lights are what you like about the holidays. But it is the direction that the light hits. It's the shadows that it casts. It's the amount of light. Like all of these things make for a more or less Hygge environment. And so like reading through this book was like very eye-opening about why I appreciate these things. So here are some of the elements. First one, Maggie, this is one of your favorites, warmth. So wrapping yourself in a blanket, sitting by the fire, cuddling on the couch. Being warm when it's cold outside is like a part of the Hygge atmosphere.
I would add to that like a really cozy pair of socks.
Oh yeah,
You know,
soft,
like I got
cozy
some
socks.
winter socks that I bust out with that are just,
Yeah,
like,
perfect. Now, in regards to the warmth, let's talk about what it's not. So like sitting on a hot beach, not Hygge. So like a tropical environment, not very Hygge. It's about being warm when it's cold outside, which is why like all the Scandinavian countries are like very focused on this because it's cold and dark for like all the time.
So what if you live in a place that I was answer my own question here. I would argue like many of the, maybe not the proper definition of it, but like even if you were in a warmer place, I think you can still get the coziness of this experience.
Yeah. Yeah. You could create the environment where it could be cold outside. Now, if you were to ask like, what is the ideal Hygge situation to be in? It would be a foot of snow during a blizzard. This is what the book talks about. It's like, if you want Hygge, you need to be in a snowstorm. That's like one of the things it talks about.
But we're still going to get some of this in Atlanta where we like never get snow. Right. Or if you're in California and it's still warm, you could still get the spirit of this. Okay, so in addition to warmth, the other category of building Hygge. I don't know why I have such a problem saying this word, by the way.
Because you're an American.
Hygge. Am I saying it right?
I think it's like, listen, I don't know, but I think it is a less pronounced and you just kind of like a Hygge. Not Hugg-ah.
I need to see it like written,
Hugg-ah.
like the pronunciation, Hugg-ah. Hold on. This is going to read it for me.
Hugh-ah.
It says Hugh-ah.
That's not right.
Okay, well, this is American pronunciation. Maybe that's... Okay, how did the Danish pronounce it? Here we go.
This word spelled H-Y,
Danish
Hygge.
Hugg-ah.
Hygge.
Literally H-O-O-G-ah. Hugg-ah. How the
Hygge.
Danish pronounce it. Well, I would just like late breaking news here. Do you agree it might actually be pronounced Hugg-ah? Doesn't matter. It is what it is, regardless of how we pronounce it.
Yeah, you're probably right.
Okay, we've just been doing some like research here on, I think it's fine. We're like, everyone's gonna, tomato, Hugg-ah, Hygge, Hugg-ah, Hugg-ah, Hygge, Hugg-ah, whatever you want to Hugg-ah.
All right, we'll just pronounce it all different ways throughout the rest of the show.
Yeah. Well, that way we'll cover all of them. One of them at some point will be right. Okay, so the other element, in addition to warmth, is light. So you were just talking about light a good bit, so I won't go into too much of this, but it's just the idea that the lighting is a big piece of it. So, soft lighting with contrasting light with shadows, candles often create that vibe, Christmas tree lights, soft lamps, things like that. It's not super bright where you have like every light in your house on and it's, overly lit. It's really like, like I would use the word dim too, right? So like some very thoughtful lighting.
Yeah. Next category is going to be smell. So think like the rich smells of winter or sweets or baking. Like these are all things that would enhance this cozy environment. And as far as like what it's not,
Can I tell you what it's not?
I think it could be anything like.
Oh no, let me tell you what it's not.
Okay.
The other day I was making split pea soup and I had cut up an onion earlier in the day and then I left it like sitting in the fridge for a few hours.
Yeah, that's not.
My whole house reeked of onions. Yeah. That is not Hoog-ah.
Okay. Raw onions, got it.
Raw
Avoid
onions,
it at all costs.
not it. But yeah, it could be the smell of a good candle. So you can get, a candle can give you many of the things all at once.
Yeah, that's right.
I'm on team candle, as you can tell. Okay. The thing the candle can't give you is the final element, which is taste.
Mm-hmm.
So, it could be like a good cup of coffee, some hot chocolate, some warm pastries. Could be fresh sourdough bread that I just made that just came out of the oven. Have I given you some sourdough yet?
No, but you post about it all the time.
Yeah, I've been off my sourdough kick too, just with being sick. Okay. So, it's cozy, warm, delicious treats. It's probably not like a bowl of old Halloween candy, which is what's sitting around my house right now.
Yeah, me too. Hopefully not for too long. So that's what makes Hygge. Now, bringing this all back to money, marketers know all of this stuff. And they will tweak their advertising during the holiday season to create these settings and try to like make the connection between the stuff that they're encouraging you to buy and this Hygge feeling of coziness.
Let me give you a good example of marketers knowing what season it is and what people want. You walk into Target. I don't know if yours is like this, Mike. The entire, like, it used to be like the book section in the front. Now it's like rows of candles.
Wow.
It's like an entire aisle of candles right when you walk in.
Yeah. They know
they're
it.
clearly like, yeah, they know that
They're
is
Hygge
people's
experts.
weak spots. Yeah.
Now, what is really silly about all the advertising you need to watch out for is that they will show a scene where it's a family on Christmas morning with snow outside and the lighting and the candles and the food, and they're convincing you to buy an Xbox or whatever, as though those two things are connected. And you will see the Hygge and you're like, I want that. I want that whole setup. But you don't need the Xbox in order to get it.
Well, I think the beautiful thing about Hygge is, first off, that I know how to say it now, but also that it's simple, basic things. Like, it's stuff that I love about the holiday season that is not all the consumer focused aspects of it, right?
Yeah.
So yes, you might need to buy a candle, but you don't need to buy 50 candles. You might buy a couple candles.
Yeah.
Aldi always has great candles, by the way.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, you know, you might, if you literally have no cozy blankets in your house, like, yeah, go maybe purchase a nice cozy blanket for the season. But I don't know about you, but I could go find like 12 cozy blankets in my house right now. So it's just getting them out and accessible.
So that's a great transition to our next part of this discussion about like what you can do if you were to go buy like your emergency Hygge kit. What would be included and how can you go do it inexpensively? And a warm, cozy blanket, I'm sure almost everybody has one that is warm enough and cozy enough that it will serve the purpose. And so go look through your house, pick out one that seems best and just take it off. You don't need to go buy anything special to achieve this element of the Hygge environment.
Yeah. And similar to the blanket, like when I was talking about socks earlier, it really might be just putting on like your favorite pajama pants and just your favorite hoodie and a pair of warm socks, and just knowing that like that's cozy clothes that you love to get into on a, you know, cold evening and, you know, cuddle on the couch with hopefully somebody you like and a nice blanket and watch a cheesy holiday movie, which is one of our favorite things to do.
Yeah, if you're cuddling on the couch with somebody you don't like, no amount of soft light and candles is going to make that enjoyable.
Different issue, but we do have many other episodes to help you if that's the situation you find yourself in, like our prenup episode or, you know, other things. Okay, so in the lighting category that we were talking about, Mike, a lot of people already have a Christmas tree and their, you know, lights set up on the Christmas tree, and that in itself creates a really nice atmosphere. It might even be that you decide to put your tree up early, right? There's no time limit on. I know some people do it around Thanksgiving. I think it has to be after Thanksgiving. You can put your tree, if you have a fake tree like we do, you can put it up early and like create that, you know, get a couple months out of the Hygge instead of just 1 month in December. But you could string some lights up around, you know, we have some lights we kind of put on like a little area in our dining room, and it just creates a really nice, just really nice like lighting experience that, you know, makes it feel like it's the holidays and cozy.
When I was a senior in college, I was living in a house with 3 other guys, and around Christmas we bought some string lights and we like, you know, hung them around the like entrance to the living room and then around the banister going down the steps. And because I at the time I liked it, and I didn't understand like what it was about the environment, but we put them up and then we kept it on the whole rest of the year. I went back 5 years later and went to go see the house and see who was living in it. All those same lights were still up there.
Oh my God, that's so funny.
So the house had turned over 5 times and they had kept all the lights in there.
Nice, impressive. Sounds like a lot of guys were living there.
Yep, definitely. Next up would be just going and buying some candles. Like, candles may or may not be something you already have in your house, but they can be quite inexpensive. They can also be super expensive. What's the company, like Yankee Candle? Where they're like $30. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I know what company you're talking about, but yeah, I don't know. Like,
I think
the
it's
cost
Yankee
of them.
Candle,
Are those
but they're
expensive?
super expensive. And like maybe they smell a little bit nicer, but honestly, like a $4 candle from Aldi is going to do the exact same thing.
Yeah, I'm surprised you're not making your own candles yet with with like your
Ooh.
soap, you know.
Ooh, that's a great idea. I'm going to think about that.
I think it's some more. I mean, I think it's some work, you know.
Yeah.
Not to say you can't do it, but
In addition to candles, incense are also a great way to bring a little bit of, nice smells into your house. And I think this is going to surprise you about me, but I actually really like incense all the time.
Really?
Yeah, all the time.
you burn it in your house?
Yeah.
Huh. I haven't burned incense since college. I don't know why that makes me think of like college.
I don't know either, but my friend Liz, who I own the rental properties with, whenever we turn over the house, she goes and like lights some incense in the house because she's married to an Indian guy, and I guess that's part of the tradition. She's like, I don't know why I do it, I just like it. And so like I love the smell of it, and she made this recommendation of PF Candle Co., and you can buy these online. So I bought some, and they're incredible. And
You bought incense from them?
Yeah, and I just
Okay.
keep them going all year round. That's great.
It's funny that you were talking about Yankee Candle Company with just expensive candles, because I Googled PF Candle Company and I'm like, oh, they have some like really cute candles, but they're like $24 for a candle.
Yeah, candles, I think high-end candles are expensive for some strange reason. Incense go a really long way, and you don't have to like burn the whole stick all at once. I just burn a little bit for like 5 minutes and then put it out. Keeps it going for a long time.
Well, candles are like all things. There's really expensive versions of them, and people will buy them, which is why people make them, you know. But there's also affordable options that are, in the middle, at the bottom. Like Aldi might be some of the cheaper candles you could get, but there's even just the candles at Target. They're like $9-10 for a nice candle, and reasonable expense to create a nice environment in your house around the holidays. So back to the last category again, with just, taste and, the idea of like coffees or pastries and, like making maybe a nice, like on a weekend morning, a nice bread, like a banana bread and fresh coffee or something, like, and just sitting on the couch and enjoying that. And I don't know if it's part of Hygge, but also maybe like watching a cheesy holiday movie while you're doing all of that. You can do all of those things very affordably, right? So you don't need to go out to Starbucks and get, pay, an expense. I'm not getting in the debate of like whether people, want to enjoy their Starbucks habit or not. But the point is like, it's just, it's being at home and enjoying things in your home with your family, and just around this time of year and in the holiday season. And I think it's a good reminder. I mean, we always do the hashtag on Instagram of like, we have food at home. Because I think Mike and our families probably definitely eat out less, on average, less than maybe the average family. But it's a good reminder that like, you have stuff you can enjoy at home. This doesn't involve going out and, sitting in a busy restaurant. And like, that is not the vibe of, Hygge.
You mentioned it before, but I just want to double click on it. Learning, if you don't already bake stuff, learning how to bake can really enhance this entire experience because you are there, it is warm, you are doing something productive, and then you are making your own pastry or your own bread, and then you get to enjoy it with your family. That's really cool, and that's a great part of Hygge.
It's a great thing to do with your kids too. So if you do have kids, I don't know about your kids if they're like of the age that they enjoy baking yet, Mike, but like our kids love baking stuff, and it's like there's not a lot of things I can do where they like willingly want to be off a screen. They all enjoy baking and create, like following a recipe and making something and cooking. And so it's just inspiring me to do some like, thoughtful baking projects with the kids this season to, make some good tasty stuff.
My kids like all kitchen activities for about 1 minute, and then they lose interest and want to go do something else. But they're very enthusiastic when I start.
Oh, I like it. See, mine are like, they'll follow and do almost the whole thing by themselves. I have to kind of ride them to like clean up. That's not always their favorite act. I'm always like, this is part of the cooking process. Is we also have to, clean all this up.
All right, Maggie. So we've discussed the elements of Hygge and given some ideas about how to go achieve those things for little to no money. Should we hit our top 3 takeaways?
Yeah. Okay. Number 1, the 2003 Ford Explorer is still kicking.
Yep.
I'm just kidding. That wasn't
1A.
1A. No, number one is Hugg-ah, which I think we're going to go with that pronunciation. It's an amazing atmosphere for the holiday season, and we just recommend you giving it a try and leaning into it.
Number 2, marketers will try to leverage your subconscious desire for Hygge to encourage you to buy stuff you don't need.
I think this is a 2B, Mike. This is just such a great reminder this time of year that you're going to be like blasted all day long with marketing, and particularly like even just with the way the economy is right now, everybody's trying to, push sales are down and everybody's trying to increase things. And this is the time to really, be values based and intentional about what you do need and want and what will make you happy. So I just think it's a good reminder to the marketing piece is just one I'm constantly trying to be more conscious about and not let it influence my decisions and really think about like what I want and what I need and what will make me happy. And on that note, our third takeaway is the essentials for Hygge are probably already in your house. And if they aren't, there are some very, inexpensive options you can do to augment the things that you feel like you might be missing. So whether it's, investing in a new blanket, some cozy socks, some, a candle, whatever it might be, you don't have to break the bank to get some of that Hygge in your house.
Well, I hope everybody found this to be useful, and we'll set up a wonderful Hygge atmosphere in their own homes for the remainder of the winter.
Yeah, I feel like this is a different vibe, Mike, for our episodes. Where I'm for some reason I'm just like very calm and relaxed today.
Yeah, talking about this stuff mellows you out.
Hygge, and yeah,
I'm gonna go light some candles after this.
My only thing is the weather's so nice outside. I'm still waiting for it to get cold, a little bit colder, to really lean into my Hygge. But I like the spirit of it. Okay. Well, thank you guys for listening. If you have been challenged or inspired by what you have heard, please rate and review the show. You can also subscribe to make sure that you never miss an episode.
If you have any thoughts or questions, we'd love to hear from you, and you can leave us a voicemail or text us at 404-981-3370 or hit us up on Instagram.
Hey, Mike. What do they say, like the Marines? What do they say, like, hoorah? Is that it?
Hugh-ah? I don't know.
Hoo-ah. Isn't it hoo-ah? Made me think of Hoog-ah. Are you Googling it?
Mm-hmm. Hoorah.
Hoorah.
Yeah.
Hoog-ah.
Hugh-ah is U.S. Army. Hoo-yah is U.S. Navy. This is from
that's so funny.
Something.
They're so also close to each other.
Yeah. Anyway, we are definitely off topic.
And Hoog-ah is from Friends on Fire. For as I was just thinking, I was like, that could be our new rally cry over the holidays. Hoog-ah. When you see like a neighbor outside, I'm just gonna start hollering at them like, Hoog-ah.
Well, you let me know if that takes off.
Yeah, people are gonna start staying past the closing if we keep it this exciting.
Oh yeah, thrilling material.
Yeah, I know. Okay, well, Hoog-ah. That was my goodbye to you.
All right, thanks, Maggie.
Okay, no, you gotta say Hoog-ah.
Hoog-ah.
Hoog-ah. Okay, bye. I still feel the need to say bye. Thanks,
right,
Mike. Bye.
Thanks, bye.